Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
And we welcome you back to Talk of the Town for this Thursday, June the 3rd. I'm Gary Stevens. Glad you are with us this morning and on the first Thursday of the month. During this time slot, we are very pleased to have Sheriff Frank Baker from Allegan County join us on our Zoom connection from his offices in Allegan. Frank, good morning and welcome back to Talk of the Town.
Good morning, Gary.
Glad you are with us. We have a question about the Sheriff's Department, law enforcement, or even water and boating safety. Not only Sheriff Baker, but Sheriff Baker along with Sheriff Sergeant Todd Wagner. Or I hope I'm not demoting him by saying Sergeant.
No.
They'll be happy to answer it at 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. Frank, I want to start my discussion with an email I have received over the last hour from your counterpart down in Van Buren County, Sheriff Daniel E. Abbott. He announced today, and I'll quote him, but I'll say maybe it's the same for Allegan County as well. Sheriff Abbott announced that Van Buren County citizens who would like to join him in the fight against crime are invited to become members of the Michigan Sheriff's Association. Many local citizens and businesses have already joined the association in support of our efforts. And I don't know whether or not you echo Sheriff Abbott's sentiments, Frank, but certainly an effort to try to get the public involved in law enforcement has to be lauded in that regard.
Yeah, and I am a member of the Michigan Sheriff's Association as well. And I believe actually all 83 sheriffs in Michigan are members. And that's kind of unique that all the sheriffs would be in agreement and part of an association, but we're all part of that. And it is one of those things where in the past, the Sheriff's Association, the Deputy Sheriff's Association used to do fundraising, and they used to do, marketing campaigns where they'd reach out directly to the public through phone calls or stuff in the mail. And in this day and age, it's sometimes a little more of a challenge because of so many people scamming people and committing frauds. But I can tell you the Michigan Sheriff's Association is a legitimate organization. We are members of that. We do get representation in that association in that way, and they do a lot of good things for our community. So, if someone is so inclined to join and be a part of that, we certainly would welcome them. If you can always reach out to the association directly if you're concerned, but we don't do the telemarketing like they used to years ago.
By the way, for those who might be interested, the website is mysheriff, MISHERIFF.org. All members will receive a membership card, member decals, and e-newsletters, and opportunities for discounts on auto, home, and recreational insurance. But the additional thing, according to Sheriff Abbott's release, and it echoes what Sheriff Baker just mentioned, no telephone solicitations are ever used to solicit members for MSA. And we talked about this before, and we got to keep reminding people the scamsters are out, and sometimes they use the name of the Allegan County Sheriff's Department to try to scam people out of money. And let's just say unsolicited calls are certainly one to raise a red flag.
Yeah, in fact, we recently had somebody trying to commit some frauds by using the name of one of our detectives and in their call to people and basically saying that they had an arrest warrant for them and that they needed to take care of that bond over the phone, which is obviously something we don't do. We don't take bond over the phone. We actually arrest you and take you to jail, and then you post your bond there once we get your fingerprints and your photo. But yeah, like you say, there's a lot of those scams that are out there, and it's very unfortunate.
If you got a question about law enforcement, Sheriff Frank Baker of Allegan County will be happy to answer it at 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. I'm going to ask Sheriff Baker to move the screen to have us be joined by by Allegan County Sheriff's Sergeant Todd Wagner of the Marine Patrol to talk a little bit about some of the things within his department. He joins us now. Todd, good morning and welcome back to WHTC. And I assume it's all hands on deck. It's busy time for the Marine Patrol. Let's just say it may have started on Memorial Day weekend. Really, it goes even before that, too.
Yeah, we did start a couple of weeks prior to the Memorial Day weekend, Gary, and obviously the holiday weekend was a little dismal, but this weekend's looking like it's going to be quite active out on the water with the warm weather and everything coming forth. A couple of things that we're doing this year that's new is we are participating with the West Michigan Lakeshore Association of Realtors in a Save a Life campaign where anyone who wants to donate a life jacket, especially for young children, can do so. And while we're out on the water, if we encounter someone without a life jacket on board or who is in need and cannot afford one, we will provide them with that through this donation. And we're partnering up with Muskegon County as well as Ottawa County in this campaign.
Now, before I get much further, I'm going to get to the phones right now. Good morning. You're on the line with with Allegan County Sheriff Sergeant Todd Wagner, along with Allegan County Sheriff Frank Baker.
Good morning. This is a little off the subject. I did not know you were going to switch to marine business, but
by the way, I will tell, Todd, go ahead and swing the Zoom camera back to Sheriff Baker because I think this is more in line for him. Go ahead now.
Okay, I was wondering, because of the awesome number of vehicles I see driving about with no license plates whatsoever, if they could maybe have a report and repair ticket, because there are ways to get your plates, and I'm sure everybody knows that, and I think they're just gaming the system. And I think it'd be a good idea to say, okay, you got 10 days to get that plate and get in here with it.
Could that be a factor, Frank, to be able to sort of spur them a little bit?
Yeah, one of the things that obviously we do is we end up stopping them and having a conversation with them. In fact, I was just talking with to Todd about that because he encountered something similar on the water with one of our new recruits and how to handle that type of a situation with someone whose boat registration hasn't been issued to them yet. Although they had all the documentation provided from the Secretary of State where they paid it, they had everything in order, except they didn't have the decal yet that you stick on the side of the boat, which is unfortunate. And we're running into similar situations on the road. And I know my son, for instance, had just bought a brand new vehicle and they weren't able to get him his plate. So they had to go back and get another paper plate extended to provide more time. So it's definitely a challenge for us in law enforcement, but hopefully we're seeing some improvement there. And it's going to get better here in the very near future. And but it does create some confusion and some challenges for us, but we're working through that as best we can.
Okay, well, it was just a suggestion.
I appreciate that.
Be able to use.
Yep, certainly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the call. 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. If you have a question for Allegan County Sheriff Frank Baker or Sheriff's Sergeant Todd Wagner. We're talking a little bit about Marine purposes with Todd as well. And Marine Academy. Some of the deputies had to go through it, and Sheriff Frank Baker mentioned one of the new recruits, as they say. One of the lessons on the boating waters certainly was learned there.
Yeah, absolutely. Every year, the state of Michigan Sheriff's Association partner with the Department of Natural Resources. We hold a state Marine Academy for all new members of sheriff's offices throughout the state that they can attend that training academy. And that's specifically related to marine laws. And once they leave there, then they go to the respective departments and hopefully receive some additional training and some practical application on the water. This year we have quite a few vacancies that we had to fill, and we've got quite a few new deputies out there. So they're wrapping up their training this week. And should be hitting the water this weekend and, experiencing everything firsthand by themselves solo.
616-395-1450. Good morning. You're on the line with the Allegan County Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, I got a question about the license plates. you make your appointment at license plates.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't get it in there till 2 or 3 months before that. Yeah, because I tried it. Everything you can get it. Like last year, I tried to get my plates, and I made an appointment. And I went in there, my appointment. They told me you're not listed on my computer.
Mm. You know, that's a Secretary of State issue. And of course, guess what? The Sheriff's Department's going to have to face it in terms of, your plate's expired. But I got my, Frank, let's put it this way. It's a big mess right now.
It is.
And I went to the machine, kind of doing that through machine.
Mm-hmm.
And they won't read my plate number.
Sheriff, can you help?
Yeah, there's not much I can do to help you. I wish I could, but it's obviously a Secretary of State issue, and it's just something you're gonna have to probably call down there and see if you can get an appointment or speak to somebody and see if there's a way that they can maybe do the data entry to correct that issue. But I certainly feel for you.
The one lady was trying to do it too, and the lady couldn't do it, and she went back in the back, got my plate for me because I work for a dealership anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I automatically got mine anyway. That's why I had a heck attack fight. I was fighting with them.
Mm-hmm.
Get my plate.
Yep. That's more of a appreciate the call. Thank you. And again, and the point I wanted to make on this is the fact that we're seeing the Secretary of State's office is saying, and we can get into the political aspects of this, Frank, ad nauseum, if you want to call it that. But they lift everything on March 31st, and everything went boom. They're saying we weren't ready for it. That's reality, I'm afraid. 616-395-1450 if you have a question for Allegan County Sheriff Frank Baker or for Sheriff Sergeant Todd Wagner, talking about boating and motoring as we go along. Let me, as I say, put this back. Go ahead and swing the camera back in our Zoom connection to Sergeant Wagner. There's been some changes, Todd, to some marine laws this year. And it's like anything, even motoring laws. Deputies need to be aware of the changes of the law. And, it's almost as if, this got changed for 2021. 3 months later, we got to check to see if there's another change on there. It's almost like a never ending circle there.
Yeah, there is. One of the biggest changes that came about this year, and actually it's a Coast Guard regulation. This is real important for everybody who boats along the Great Lakes and the connecting waters. And when I say connecting waters, it's all the rivers and tributaries that dump into the Great Lakes. So it's also applicable there. Is one of those regulations is a engine cutoff safety lanyard, which you commonly find on personal watercraft. And that new regulation pretty much states that if you have a boat that is 26 feet or under, and you're traveling at a speed greater than slow no wake, which more or less means you're putting around. If you put any speed to that boat, you are required as the operator to wear that safety lanyard the entire time that you're up on plane. Now that is not a state law. However, I believe in the next couple of years, our state legislators will probably follow suit with that. But that is a Coast Guard requirement, and that's something that boaters really need to be aware of. It's a safety issue, which stems back quite several years, and that's why they put those devices on the personal watercraft as well.
One more boating question before we take the break, Sergeant Todd Wagner. Operation Dry Water is coming up, and it's a cooperative effort, a nationwide effort to try to stop drunken boating. And let's put it this way. We know about drunken driving. Drunken boating can be just as bad.
It can, and it is coming up. It will be over the 4th of July weekend, as it traditionally is. We are participating with that effort again. And, it doesn't just focus on alcohol. It also focuses on the other recreational type of drug or any other substance that could possibly impair a person's inability to operate a vessel. So, the biggest thing is if you go out, it's okay to have, some adult beverages on board. Just make sure that the operator is safe and sober.
Frank, I was just shaking my head, and I don't have the story in front of me, and it just 12-year-old targeting police. That shakes me. Obviously, being a son of a former Detroit police officer, 26 years. Yeah, I do know, but still, that just shakes me like 12 years old to turn. What do you do, Frank? What do you do?
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that, Gary. I wish I did. I think that, it's one of those things where, the tide comes in, the tide goes out, and right now it's not a good time in law enforcement. We're running into some challenges with perceptions. And I think that unfortunately there's always the proverbial bad apples that ruin it for everyone else, because overwhelmingly the vast majority of law enforcement people are there because they want to serve their community. They want to do something to help. They want to be a part of the solution, not the problem. And unfortunately, there's always a few people that they get the focus of attention, and people can sometimes assume that everybody's like that. And it's unfortunate because obviously it was a profession that I take great pride in, and it's why I got involved in it. And you want to do something you could be proud of, and that your kids could look back and say, I'm proud of what my dad did. And so hopefully that sentiment changes, and we can kind of get back to the way it was a few years ago when it wasn't that way. But I can really say that here in Allegan County, we're very blessed. We've got the support of our community, and we try to do everything we can to maintain that, whether it's being transparent, whether it's being involved in community issues and situations, but in trying to be responsive to that. But yeah, it's a difficult time, and hopefully we'll see that change in hopefully the very near future, because we are running into some challenges, recruiting new deputies, retaining deputies. It's going to be an issue as we move forward, unless we see a change in that.
For every story we talk about, the 12-year-old targeting police, or situation where a girl, pulls out a gun and gets shot because it pulled out a gun, you got to protect yourself. For all those stories that come out, then we have the story about up in Royal Oak last month, where a police officer helped deliver a baby in the parking lot. And those are the good heartwarming stories about those in blue or brown that really do well. Let's get one more call before we say goodbye to Sheriff Frank Baker. Good morning. You're on the line.
Good morning. You talked about a lanyard on an outboard motor, but what if it's an older motor that doesn't have a cutoff switch?
All right.
I'll listen for that.
I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. Let's swing the microphone over to Sheriff Sergeant Todd Wagner.
Yeah, with regards to that, if it's an older motor that hasn't been manufactured with that, a couple things. Number one, there is an exemption in that regulation from the Coast Guard that you're exempt from that if you're operating a vessel that does not have that, or you can also take that and have one installed to meet that criteria. But if it's strictly like an outboard motor that attaches to the back of the vessel, then if it wasn't original part of the manufacturing, then you fall under that exemption.
Okay. And the thing is, though, this is the first year of it.
It is.
Yeah, it's the first year. So you're going to have that. But as the boats get newer and some of the older boats, are retired and sold for scrap and stuff like that, it's not going to be that big a deal. It's always the case with, if you start something new, there's always going to be exemptions for some of the older stuff.
Yep. And there'll be some lag time as well. And I think you're right, Gary, you'll see those things slowly fade away. And as technology improves and people buy newer things as years go by, it's going to be pretty commonplace, like seatbelts.
One final thing, Todd, I'll finish our conversation with you on this. Talk about the joy of boating, because we talk about the enforcement, the safety and all that, but there's still got to be an enjoyment about going out on the water, be it on a nice yacht or be it, on those little boats with the outboard in the back, you going out fishing. There's something about that, isn't it? There
is. We talked to several people yesterday. One of the lakes we were on was Green Lake in Caledonia, and husband and wives just taking the time. Either they were retired or they took the day off to enjoy themselves, enjoy the day, and get away from the stress of everyday life. And they went fishing. They might not have caught anything, but they had a heck of a good time and just enjoyed the water and all the things that God created for us. And they had a great time out there. And it was a pleasure talking to them. We shared a lot of stories back and forth, and got to learn a little bit about everybody we talked to. So it's a nice way to meet people and have nice conversations.
Allegan County Sheriff Sergeant Todd Wagner, Allegan County Sheriff Frank Baker. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today on WHTC's Talk of the Town. Todd, I know we'll talk again soon, and Sheriff Baker, if all goes well, we'll do this again next week. Next
Sounds
month,
good,
I should
Gary.
say. Next month, not next week. We don't need you that fast. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.